Hey everyone, it's Isaac from True Champion Gaming, and today I have another deck list for you guys. It is Fire Tony. Now, if you've been paying attention to some of the top lists from the CoreTCG Regionals and the Singapore Regionals as well, and if you're paying attention to the Yeti local online locals, they're too kind as well. You've been seeing this deck list kind of creeping its way into the top results. Now, this is actually really cool for me because I got to see, or right before Taiwan, actually, before our team left for Taiwan, I actually made a very similar list, and just honestly, it was really cool. We saw it could do powerful stuff, but just didn't have the time to bring it up to a cent practice level. We did practice it a little bit, felt really cool, but was like, all right, when we get back, we'll put time into it, and then completely slipped my mind. So congrats to Gamori and Manute. Those are the two deck lists of 60 card deck lists that top two different regionals of like 100 plus people each. And then I'm so sorry to the person who topped the Yeti locals, just a weekly locals. Congrats to you too. They had a 73 card list, so definitely a little bit more unique. But I here just have my own list. I'll put a link to all those down below, so if you want to see what those lists look like, they will be in the description. This is my list. Like I said, very similar. Fire Aggro Tony is a pretty close to similar deck. There's like the way to have it built. You can change some cards around. It's still fresh and new, so nothing like hard set in stone, of course. But also there's some pretty solid core cards that I would keep in if I were you. So let's just jump right into it though. So Spirit of Fire. We're in Spirit of Fire. We're aggro. We're Fire aggro. We can do some really powerful turns that people don't expect. And that's actually one of the coolest things about this deck. I had it. Actually, it's funny because when I saw that at the top of the list, I was like, oh, we could do a deck list on this. I literally have it sitting on my table pretty much still from before Taiwan because I didn't want to take it apart fully. Some of the champions or the GCR have been picked out of it, but I put those back in, of course. But Spirit of Fire, it has that. Just like Fire Aggro Xander or Fire Aggro Lorraine, it has that just like power to just suddenly do a lot of damage, and Fire Tony is no different. So, of course, Fire Spirit, level 1 Tonoris, we're getting some of those Tonoris class bonus in Fire, which you might not know what those are. We'll get to those in a second. They are pretty cool, pretty powerful. Maybe not doing some doubling of power effects, just like Lorraine, or maybe Poison Dagger effect like, Assassin, but we are getting some other effects, which is very cool. Plus, the taunt actually does come up, and it's very nice for something like Arthur, which we do have in the deck, to keep it safe. Then we have a level 2 Tonoris. We don't always go into this, but this is a really cool thing that we get 3 attack just to deal an extra damage. Maybe to sweep board. We do have a couple flame sweeps in here. Honestly, that's the main reason. That's all it is, and maybe some of that extra health. It does go up to 25 health, which is a level 3 statted. Some of the other champions level 3 health stat pool. So that can come in handy too if we're just in a little more grindier of a game. Then we have the weapons. So we have 2. We have Bulwark and Impact Hammer. Both of these are swinging for 3. This one you have to pay 2 to swing 3, which depending on what that means, it could be a good or bad thing. And then this one, whenever a unit uses this weapon, we deal 3 damage to that unit. So of course it's going to be ourselves in this case. Both cards very good. This one you don't necessarily want to take 6, but the fact that it gets to push 3 and then using attacks with this, and you're pushing for like 7, 8, 9, whatever it might be, this is really, really good. Of course, Bulwark as well. You just have to pay that 2 and swing for that. But it's really nice to get that class bonus, of course, to start hitting for 3. Then we have some safety cards. So our 2 safety cards, well, I should say 1 safety card and 1 utility card. So safety card, Tariff Ring, helps protect our board, helps, maybe stop our face from getting smashed in from allies. But honestly, his biggest thing is to help fight for board if we're in a board matchup where we want to try to contain that, keep our allies alive. This, that's the biggest reason for this card. Smoke bombs, get around those pesky taunts and interceptors. Maybe we can kill, if they have 2, we can kill 1, smoke bombs the other, get through. This also can be used to protect our own allies, of course, whether it be like an Arthur or just some other high value allies in our deck. And then we have some draws. So fire, wind, and water baubles. You can make your own choices if you want these in or not. In an aggro deck list, these used to be staples, hardcore staples. They aren't anymore, but they are still very good for Merlins, for any Tristan or other wind allies, decks running around, and some of the water allies decks. Obviously, this is not going to help you against slimes. If you were going to run these, I would definitely suggest running some solid sideboard regalia, stuff like amulets and other just generically good regalia cards, just in general, to replace these when you go into game 2 and 3. And then we have extra draw, essentially, for the deck. GCR and GCR 2.0. Honestly, If you're an Aggro list, you're probably running both of these. Not always backup charger, because that three cost to it is a big deal. If you can't hold up those resources, it makes it really hard to use this, especially if it's past a couple turns into the game and your resources are getting low in an aggro deck. But if you can get this out, it feels really good. We have ways to actually use that power cell to pop onto automatons. So both cards very good, of course, for drawing. Now let's move on to the main deck. We'll start with the allies. So I mentioned him before. We got a 4 of Arthur. Arthur is just one of those cards that if it's in your opening hand, it feels very, very like you already have the game almost, unless they have a Dream Fairy. But luckily, stuff like Tristan is either not running it or is less seen, of course. So Arthur has a better likelihood of sticking on the board and helping you to fight for board or push more damage face, of course, and give itself immortality. When we go into level 1 Tony, we are getting that taunt also to help protect Arthur, and we do run another card that can help protect this as well. So Arthur is actually a very, very solid card. And then we run a 4 of Gildas. We are a little bit more of an ally deck than normal fire aggro decks are. So Gildas is actually very strong. We're able to do the whole generic thing of playing a bunch of little 3-drop allies or 3-cost things in general to help balance Gildas, help it push 4. We're not necessarily protecting this a ton, but if it stays alive for more than 1 turn, we're very, very happy. But again, just pushing 3 damage for 4 damage, or 3 costs for 4 damage is just very, very good as well. And then our favorite 3-drop to go along with Gildas is Lurking Assailant. It's a great turn 1 if you don't have that Arthur, but we have this. We're sitting pretty happy as well. There's not much to say about Lurking. It's a really, really solid card, really good stats, all that jazz, just for, and a really nice cheap card, I will say as well, for allies. And then we have Veteran Blazebearer. So this is one of those cards I said can actually help protect Arthur. It can help protect our face as well, but it can help protect our board a little bit from just getting, easily picked off with perfect value. Class bonus, this is one of the really nice things about Tenoris, because this can be ran in other, fire aggro lists, but we actually get that steadfast, which makes it very annoying to kill sometimes. Just that extra hit back on, little units onto slimes, a lot of little low-cost slimes, this can kill off just by because it has steadfast, so it can retaliate. And just so you don't know, because steadfast doesn't come out all the time, I'll read out loud. This ally can retaliate while rested and doesn't rest to do so. So it can help block a bunch of damage and kill some damage on your opponent's turn. And then we're just playing a generic 3-drop 2/3. The other list also played some Esteem Knights. I'm playing a slightly different card, slightly different counts, of course, but this is just essentially 3-drop 2/3. Not much to understand about that. You can play the Esteem Knights because instead of my Esteem Knights, I do have some Crimson Tears. I actually really like this card. I like that once we go to level 1, it can start. It's a 3-drop 3/2, so it's a more aggressive stat-lined ally. Yes, unfortunately, a lot of people are playing little reprograms, but that's why it's only a 2 of. Can help push the damage when we need it to, and of course, again, balances Gildas. We also have 2 Blazing Bowmen. So I would say this is close to the end of our just generically attack-oriented allies. This is a 3-drop, sometimes 4/1, usually a 4/1 when we're playing it, and it can't be retaliated. So it's really good to kill off something that's a little bit bigger because it can't die. If there's a taunt or intercept that has 3 or 4 health, or anything less, of course, as well, we can run a Blazing Bowman into it to help kill it off. And then this is still alive because it can't retaliate against it. So just a really nice little tech card, and of course can push 4 damage to face as well. And then we have 4 Rococo. We do go pretty low on hand size. It's really hard to. We're playing out allies, and we don't have the protectability that Wind has, and so our hand count can get pretty low pretty quickly. Also, this is just a really solid way to do 1 damage or 1 cost deal up to 3 damage, which is really insane. It's also an automaton, so we can pop that power cell onto it from backup charger. It's just a really good target for that kind of stuff. Then we have fire-tuned automaton. So we're getting into a little bit more of our cycle cards. This is obviously one of our worst cycle cards, but it can be a cycle card. If we can pitch a tempered steel off of this, we're sitting really happy with that because now we're putting a floating memory in the yard. We can also pitch another one of itself, when we play it, to help recuperate some of that, floating memory cost, and when leveling up or going to smoke ponds, wherever it might be. This having floating memory is actually really cool. So if it dies off, because it is a very aggressive stat-lined ally, we are getting some benefit from it back. And then the best, of course, cycle, discard, ally, Hasty Messenger. This allows us just to cycle through our deck, trying to figure out what we want, or get a little better, cards in hand, fix our hand a little bit, throw away those temper steals, which I'll get to later. Just obviously very solid card, can pitch the Fire Tuned Automaton. We don't run a huge floating memory package in this deck, so a lot of times we might just be pitching some of that fire cards, but that's okay, as long as it's getting us further to our win con. And then we'll go into the, I guess, not allies package of the deck. So no surprise, we're playing some Creative Shocks, good in Recollection, good to fix our hand, good to honestly level up because it can replace itself, put some fire cards in the drop, all that good stuff. Creative Shock is there for you when you need it for that kind of situation. Vermilion Decree. Vermilion Decree is an insane card. This is why our fire count is actually so high, why we play, I think it's only like 10, maybe 12 normal cards in this deck, because we want Vermilion Decree to definitely always be able to imbue, because it allows us to either kill a little unit, deal damage face, or replace itself. There's been multiple games in either Fire Aggro Lorraine or even in Fire Assassin, Aggro Assassin, where I'm able to play sometimes 2 Vermilion Decrees on turn 1 essentially, or my opponent's turn. And yeah, they got to draw 2 cards as well, and I get to draw 2 cards, but I got to deal 6 damage to their face. And then on my next turn, sometimes there's just a lethal there, and that happens in this deck as well. So Vermilion Decree is a really, really solid card in an aggro list in general, so love that card for us. Then we have a 3 of Blazing Throw. So we do have 2 different weapons. This turns our weapon to a attack card essentially, or a attack spell. Deals 4 damage face, or 4 damage to maybe an attacking, or a taunter or an interceptor. But Blazing Throw is just a very solid card. Only a 3 of, because we want to see 1 again or 2, but we don't want to have extras in hand. So a 3 of felt like a very solid mark, and those other lists in the other regionals seemed like they had similar counts as well. And then maybe a newer card that not a lot of people really been playing, but allows us to, again, deal a lot of damage face, and why our fire count is so high. So Surging Bolt. So Surging Bolt just does damage face, but it can deal 3 damage, or most likely it's going to be dealing 4 damage to their face. This is an expensive Blazing Throw, but we don't need to have a weapon to go alongside of it. Sometimes we're just in the game where we are on the line, they're at 21 health if they're at level 3, and we just need something to get over their taunter or interceptor. We don't have no way to do that. We don't have a weapon for Blazing Throw. Surging Bolt is going to come in perfectly for that exact scenario, and that scenario comes up more than you'd think, so love Surging Bolt in the deck. And then Temper Steel. Floating Memory, Fire Floating Memory. I don't really have much more to say about that. Really solid card. And then we have our 2 of Flame Sweep. So this is our attack cards. 2 of Flame Sweep. This is just if we need to go to level 3, go to level 2 so we can cleave for 4. That's honestly all it is. It allows us to cleave, kill off board. People necessarily won't play around that in Tony. You might now because you're seeing this deck list or you saw the topping deck list, but still very solid card. Definitely run some other sideboard cards that you can swap out for this, so you have a different option if you need. And finally, the last card in the deck is the true attack card of the deck. The card that really pushes this deck into the aggro and the way it has that surprise factor to just win games, and that is Blazing Charge. So Blazing Charge is a 2-cost, deal 5 damage when we are Guardian, essentially. Yes, the on attack can occur where it's on attack, until the beginning of your next turn. If damage will be dealt to your champion, they take that much damage +1 instead. Don't worry about that. That's not important. The more important thing is that we're able to attack for 5 with this card, and then if we have something like our other one of our weapons, we're actually swinging for 8. So just a very, very strong card. Something to consider with this card, of course, is when to use it properly. If you're against something like either like a Rye, that's a perfect example, and you get a turn to play Blazing Charge, you do it, because you're able to deal 5 damage to them, and most likely, unless they're level 3 and they're going to Advent you, that 1 damage isn't really going to matter. They're going to just blow you up instead, so you might as well get the damage in, or if they're not level 3 yet, you just get a free 5 damage in without almost any drawback. So Blazing Charge is a very, very good card. What helps this card really helps this deck really just push itself into that aggro, into the meta, and not make it just kind of a very subpar deck. So that's it for the list. Some other cards you guys can think about are like stuff like Heavy Slam, maybe Savage Smash. just a couple more attack cards here and there. Mess around with the deck, guys. This is a newer deck. It's not a deck that's been heavily refined, but it is a very, very solid deck. You need to know about it because the surprise factor from there, you know, knowing what can be in this deck that if you're playing against it at a bigger event, so you don't just get blown out from it. But even then, it can just, you know, do exactly that. It's an aggro list. It's a list that can get over stuff, get through taunts and interceptors. You know, it is a very strong deck and a deck that should be respected. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.